Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This video is going to look slightly different from my previous videos. I'm looking for ways to produce more content because it's better for engagement and also because I actually do want to produce more content. It's just hard to squeeze in video production into my daily routine. So I'm looking for ways to optimize the whole process. And I figured that if I have a chatting video every now and then, or if I do 1 week this highly scripted, highly structured video, and then another week having a more relaxed format, more this rambling type of video, then I might be able to post consistently every week. So basically I will have a bi-weekly cadence for both scripted and non-scripted videos. In any case, the topic of this video, the idea I really want to discuss with you today is very simple, even common sense like, and it's this idea that in order to find something that you like, something that you want in life, you first have to go through things you don't like and don't want. We all are familiar with this concept in some way, shape or form. It's sort of tied with the idea of learning from failure. It's basically the same thing. But do we know what it means, really? Here's an example from my personal life. I've been now trying to learn how to rest. Trust me, it's very hard. If you're an ambitious person, if you've ever struggled with burnout, then you know how hard it is to give up on your routine even for a little while, and just do nothing, so to say nothing, but basically just do whatever you're called to do in the moment. It's really hard to enjoy things. Even on my free time, I tend to do things that I planned rather than things that I might want to do. Anyway, the other day I was asking myself what might be fun to do right now. And the first thing that came to my mind was watching a movie. So I started watching a movie. 30 minutes in, I realized that I do not like the movie I'm watching. And in fact, I don't want to watch any TV at all. I would rather play video games. The next thing that comes to my mind goes like, oh no, I am wasting the limited free time I have, and I'd better stick with this movie so that it gives me at least an illusion of rest. It gives me at least an illusion of doing something that I want. And as I go through this internal monologue, it hit me that, first of all, I don't have to watch the movie I dislike. And second, had I not started watching this movie, I would have never realized that what I truly wanted was playing video games. So in a sense, going through something I didn't like made me find out what I wanted. Now, this is a very shallow example, but I feel the same logic applies to the rest of our lives as well. And this is pretty much the whole point of what I'm trying to say. It's okay to make quote-unquote bad decisions and move on from them. Even more so, I don't think we need to label them as good or bad. Sometimes decisions serve as a stepping stone towards the next chapter in our life. I feel like a lot of us are so indecisive in our lives because of this misconception that when we make choices, it's for life. Of course, it's hard to make up your mind when you know that the decision is final, because what if you made a wrong choice? But this is exactly why it is so important to maintain this mindset that there are no wrong decisions, and there are several reasons as to why there are no wrong decisions or no final decisions in general. And first of all, things change. We change, the circumstances change, people around us change. Everything changes. Nothing is static in life. The choice that you made when you were 18 might not serve you when you are 28, exactly because all the elements that made this choice right and possible at the time are different and might be pointing in the opposite direction. When we go to the store and we buy something, we're not trying to argue ourselves out of pain because 10 years ago the price was different. It's the same in life. You are a different person from what you were 10 years ago. The political, social, environmental situation where you live is different from what it was 10 years ago. Maybe you live in a totally different city. You can't expect yourself to stick to the same choices that made sense to you back then and expect them to work for you now when all the other elements and constants are not so constant. The other thing is we really don't know what we don't know. When I was 17, I wanted to become a scholar. My biggest dream in life was to study either history or linguistics. However, 2 years in my program, I realized that this field of study, I was doing linguistics, meant a lot of work for virtually zero pay. And it's not that I'm such a materialistic girl, but I do enjoy a comfortable life. And on top of that, I have a chronic illness that makes it impossible for me to dedicate my whole life to, well, practically working non-stop, which is sort of expected of people in academia. The funny thing is that I didn't know my chronic illness would interfere so much with this lifestyle until I tried to emulate it. You don't know what you don't know. When you start a new relationship, you might discuss everything, or you might think that you have discussed everything. You have discussed values and how you clean and who cooks and whether you want or don't want kids. But then when you move in together, or even just start dating, 2 months in your new relationship, something else pops up, something that you didn't expect. Not necessarily bad or good, but something that you never discussed or even thought of might pop up. And even if you do know about something, sometimes you really have to try. Sometimes you have to go through this bad experience to know that it's also bad for you. Like sometimes you have to burn yourself a little bit to know that fire is dangerous. Sometimes you have to make this wrong decision in your life to figure out that what's good for you is the opposite of that. And I'm not talking here about indulging certain life choices or personality types, personality traits, or, certain types of behavior, but I'm talking here about making peace with whatever choice you made back then. Even if it was a bad idea to, let's say party all night for multiple years onwards, you wouldn't know that it was bad for you had you not tried living that lifestyle. I've read this book about happy hormones and nervous system, and one thing really stuck with me, and even though it's obvious, I'm just gonna say it, that people are not born with pre-existing knowledge, unlike, for example, lizards. We really don't know what's good or bad before we build up this experience. And I know that it's sort of obvious. We all know that we have to accumulate experience in our lives to develop our own moral compass, values, to develop our own understanding of what we want in life. But I feel like we only remember it when it comes to basic things. Don't touch this stuff, it will hurt. Always brush your teeth, try to be polite with people, try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. But when it comes to a bit more complex things, when it comes to our own sense of identity and our own sense of fulfillment in life, we tend to forget it. We tend to think that what has worked for us when we were very young or even little is supposed to work for us when we age. And it's not like that because, again, we do not have pre-existing knowledge. Our knowledge is flexible. Our experience is flexible. We forget that our own sense of identity and fulfillment is not pre-made. We have to give it time. We have to try out different things for it to develop, and sometimes we have to be okay with it changing over time. And the final thing, sometimes or quite often, your expectations don't match the reality. It sort of ties with what I've already said about not knowing what you don't know, and it really is a thing. Before you start something, you always have this romantic notion of how it's going to be. But once you start doing something, let's say you start your own business, you also notice all the boring and tedious implications. When people think about starting their own business, they think of how cool it's going to be to have freedom over their own schedule. They think of how cool it's going to be to strategize. They think of how cool it's going to be to have meetings with their first customers, clients, and they don't think about all the boring things they have to do. Before you start and you try out, you really don't know what you're getting into. That's why you have to be okay with going through something you dislike, because it really brings you closer to what you might like. Again, it doesn't mean that we have to indulge any of our own actions or somebody else's, or we have to tolerate some intolerable things. No, nothing like that. It just means that we are fine with the fact that life is not static and our choices don't have to be final. And I think that's pretty much everything I want to say on the topic. Unlike with my other videos, I don't have any tips on how you can develop this mindset. I feel like it either resonates with you or it doesn't. If it resonates with you, then great. I hope you got a much needed validation. And if it doesn't, then you must have clicked away by now, so it's all good. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful. I wish you a great day, and as always, I will see you next time. Bye bye.